Hello, it's Mac here, and today I'm about the Special Vehicle Circuit DLC for GTA Online, and I want to talk about my thoughts on this DLC so far, from the information we have been given, and then I also want to talk about, will this DLC have that long of a lifespan? So, if you don't know what this DLC is, it'll be coming out on Tuesday, March 14th, so we're only a couple days away at this point, and it'll essentially be a sort of, I guess you could call it a part 2 to Cunning Stunts that came out, last year. And it's sort of taken the Cunning Stunts formula with stunt races, these very massive and high-speed races in GTA Online. And it's essentially going to be taking those, but going to be putting in the 3 special vehicles and some of those that came with import-export. So there's going to be 3 in here: the Ruiner 2000, the Rocket Voltic, and the Blazer Aqua. Each of these have their own special abilities, like the Blazer Aqua can go on water. There'll also be, the Ruiner 2000 that has jumps and, parachute and stuff. I don't know if the rockets will be used on that, but maybe they will. We'll have to wait and see. However, besides that, there doesn't seem to be much else in this DLC. There is going to be a new supercar as well, which is the Progen GP1. This looks like a nice supercar. Doesn't seem anything too special, at least in my opinion. Like, it's a new Progen vehicle. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look, insanely unique or anything. It just looks like another supercar. But I want to talk about my thoughts on this DLC and sort of talk about the longevity of what this DLC could be, because I'm kind of a little bit worried about that. So, like I said, this seems to be all that we know about this DLC. There's going to be 20 new stunt races for these vehicles, and this doesn't seem to add much new content. Of course, we will get the Progen GP1, but those won't even be involved in the special vehicle circuit races. And then aside from that, I mean, there may be some new props. There's going to, of course, be new races, but the actual special vehicles that we're going to be racing, these aren't new vehicles. They came out, like 3-4 months ago in import-export. So, these aren't new vehicles, and it just kind of feels like they're reusing content. Not only reusing vehicles from import-export that came out last year, but also reusing, I'm sure they're going to reuse a lot of assets from Cunning Stunts. It honestly kind of feels a little bit like lazy, or like there wasn't much time put into this DLC. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And then, also, I'm very worried about the longevity of this DLC. I have to ask myself, how long will these races be popular? How will people enjoy them? And if they do, for how long will people be playing these? Because Cunning Stunts, I feel, has had a good longevity. Sure, I don't really like doing a lot of the Rockstar-created races that came out with the DLC. That, because they're so old at this point, I've already played them multiple times already. Some of the new races are quite nice, and I do like it whenever they do introduce new races, but of course there's the creator and all that. So I will say that Cunning Stunts had a pretty good longevity. But some of the things that made Cunning Stunts have a good longevity, this DLC won't have. A few problems with it. One is only 20 new races. Sure, there may be the creator, sure there may be more down the road, but 20 isn't actually that much. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, because that is a little bit on the low side, especially because races are very linear. Well, I've played, certain Cunning Stunts races many times. They're very linear. Once you've played them once and you go through them a couple laps, a lot of the time that's you already experienced it. There's not much new to be seen. I'm sure there may be new paths or something along those lines, but for the most part, they're very linear. And so after you play those 20 new races, will you even be wanting to play them again? Will you be wanting to replay them? And my other problem with this is that even with Cunning Stunts, if you already played a race, if you get that race again, you could just choose a different vehicle and have a little bit of variation in that. Let's say, you did one of the stunt races in the RE7B, and, you didn't like that vehicle too much in that race. Well, maybe now, next time you choose the Turismo R, or next time you choose the FMJ, or, the X80 Proto, Nero, whatever you want to choose, you can have a variation in vehicles. In the special vehicle races, you're not going to be seeing that. Everybody's going to be on the same playing field, everybody's going to be using the same vehicle, and that ruins a lot of the longevity, in my opinion. If you've already played a race, you're going to get a similar experience every time. Sure, different skill levels and stuff of other players, but you're going to be seeing, the same vehicle. If you have 16 players in these races, everybody's going to be using the same vehicle. There's not going to be as much variation in what vehicle you're going to be choosing. And I feel like that kind of, makes these races have a worse life cycle. And there's only going to be 3 vehicles. In Import-Export, there was 8 special vehicles, I believe. And only to have 3 of them in these races, that does seem a tad bit disappointing. Sure, you could say, oh, well, how are you going to have, the armored box fill in a race? That thing's so slow. And I guess you could say that, but on the other hand, I think it would have been quite more interesting if they thought outside the box with some of these vehicles. Imagine, using, like, the ramp buggy, and then you're going, like, on the highway or something, and that's how the race is designed. There's obstacles coming at you, or maybe you're climbing up a mountain where things are falling down on top of you. That would be quite cool. Or, better yet, imagine the technical Aqua, where you have, one driver, and then you have a guy on the gun. Sort of like a rally race, but actually good. Imagine using the technical Aqua, and it's sort of like a mix between Vehicle Vendetta, that adversary mode, mixed with races. So, the driver's focused on driving, and then the guy on the back is focused on gunning. And then maybe even each lap, you could have it where it alternates the driver and the gunner. That would be quite cool. That's why I'm a tad bit worried about how long people will be playing these races, is because mainly there's not going to be much variation in the vehicles. Another thing that Cunning Stunts, in regular races had over these special vehicle races, if you want to go out and buy a new supercar and try it out in races, that'll get you to play some of these races. You're not going to have that with special vehicle races because you're always going to be forced and locked to a certain vehicle. And even then, there's not many vehicles you can be locked to. It's just a variation of 3. Maybe there'll be, some new special vehicles in this DLC, but you think that they would have announced that if that was going to be the case. Really, all they've said so far is that there's going to be the Rocket Voltic, Ruiner 2000, and the Blazer Aqua, and I don't imagine there's going to be any new special vehicles in this DLC, which is also another thing that is a tad bit disappointing. I actually would have liked if, whenever this gun running DLC comes out, that's going to add new special vehicles. I would have liked if they would have waited and put the gun running DLC first, and then added some of those special vehicles into this DLC. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see. I'm curious about this DLC. I want to see how good these races are, and if they are good, maybe people will be playing them for a long time, or maybe not, because people may just get bored of using the same couple vehicles each and every race. Maybe there will be some new outfits, but so far they haven't shown any of those off. Sure, there may be some new tattoos or something like that. I doubt there's going to be any new weapons involved in the DLC, because, with Cunning Stunts, there were no new weapons. Import-Export, there were no new weapons. But let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Are you excited for this DLC? Are you not? And if you are excited for these new races, how long do you think people will be playing them? Do you think people will be playing them, 7 months from now? Or do you think, people will be playing them for a week and then just move on? Because there isn't much variety in these races. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Hope you enjoy. Feedback is Christian. I'll see you guys in the next video.